Hey guys, this is Andrew from Chess Diagnostics. I just played kind of an interesting Blitz game that I was analyzing, so I thought I'd make a video of it. Alright, so I'm white here, and the opponent was around 2100, and there were some interesting variations. I started off with e4, and then he played c5. We went into Scheveningen, Sicilian type defense. Kind of a hybrid. It looks like the echo code is B54, if that matters. And so we're just developing pieces here. I play bishop to e2. He plays e6. So yeah, now we are in a Scheveningen at this point. B84. And he kind of makes his development really slow. So you notice that I've developed almost all my pieces. I'm one move away from bringing my queen up, connecting my rooks up, and it looks like he's going to castle, but he starts a push on the queen side, which isn't necessarily wrong. It says it's actually equal at this point. I have this bar here so you can see it'll go up or down, up for white, down for black, and he makes things complicated by playing b4. Now, the computer's saying it's actually a slight advantage for black. And I had this interesting idea to sacrifice a knight after exchanging here. Now, if I just move, as the computer's saying, then he can win a pawn, but I decide to exchange, and actually black's saying that's even a greater advantage, or the computer's saying that's even a greater advantage for black. Now what's interesting is, well, it looks like it was saying I could play back, but playing against a human opponent, when you make something complicated, unless they play very accurately, it can be very hard. So I have two choices. Either I can play passively and just try to keep the pawn and keep equal with my opponent, or I can make it complicated. And I think it's the right decision to make it complicated in this position, because if I move my pieces forward, sacrifice a piece, notice that his king's not castled yet, and he has basically 4 undeveloped pieces. These 4 here. So I decide to play knight to b5. So after he takes, he makes a mistake here. He plays queen to b6. And now I take, and you'll notice from this position, the king's uncastled, and actually he has a lot of weaknesses. I can play here and trap his bishop. So it's saying a plus 1.1 advantage for white. Now the interesting variation was that if black plays queen to c5, I can take it with the queen, but I can also take with the knight. And if he moves his king over, I can play e5, and the computer suggested this line to sacrifice another pawn and then start pushing these 2 passers, which practically is incredibly strong. And though it's saying that it's actually equal at this point, this practically is a very hard position to defend. Now notice the queen can't take the pawn because I'll win the bishop. So I can actually just start pushing these pawns. If he moves back, these 2 pawns will be very strong. I thought this was a really cool line. It kind of shows and illustrates the understanding of activity. Now, the thing that with connected passed pawns is that they greatly reduce the activity of the opponent's position. He's going to try to develop these pieces, but it's just going to be very hard as I push these pawns down. He does have a passer on his own, but with my light squared bishop, and especially if he takes with this bishop, it's just going to be very difficult. I'm not saying it's won necessarily, but especially in a blitz game, these kinds of positions are hard for humans to play. A computer can objectively say it's this or that, but it's very hard to play against an undeveloped position with connected passed pawns. So he played here, and then he makes a mistake. Now he can't actually move over to protect this bishop, because there's actually a discovered check. So that's definitely winning. So he has to play king here, and I can play e5, cut off his bishop, and it's pretty much totally won at this point. He makes a couple more mistakes. He's just kind of desperate to develop. And now I have another skewer here. The queen has to move. And it's plus 6.5 at this point. So practically it was a correct decision to sacrifice a piece, because actually now I'm up a ton of material and it's going to be hard for him to play. But he played on, trying to get his rook out. And there was basically just some more moves where I'm trying to consolidate it. Now this move here, it looks like black can take, but actually can't, because it'll be mate like this. Now the reason I played the rook up was because he's threatening to take here and then play check, and I wanted to interpose with my rook, because his queen's kind of cutting through the light squares here. So I can actually take, because now the rook can interpose on g5. And now actually I have a sacrifice here. The king can take. Now if he plays here, then it's actually not too bad. The black can come in, but at this point he doesn't really have anything. And I'm up a ton of material. So I actually took the pawn here, and then after the king takes, it's just trade down, and it's easily won endgame. These two pawns, and then he'll have to come over here, and then I'll just take these two, and either side will win. So I thought it was kind of an interesting game from the beginning, how there was just a sacrifice, and the opponent had some difficulty dealing with an undeveloped position. Objectively, it wasn't necessarily winning, but it was complicated enough that I allowed him to make some mistakes. Now, during the game, of course, I didn't see that complicated line where he would have got the two passers here. But when you play these kind of practical positions, it's always interesting the resources that you can have when you make things complicated for the opponent. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this game. I'm thinking about doing more game analysis videos of like recent events, and there was a game by Wesley So during the United States Championship I wanted to look at. I think I'll get into those soon. If you like these types of videos, leave a comment, let me know what you think, or if you have any other ideas that you'd like to see, just let me know. Have a good day. Bye-bye.